Why is the administration flying thousands of migrants from the border to Florida and New York in the middle of the night?
Well, I'm not sure that it's in the middle of the night, but let me tell you what's happening here. It is our
4:29 a.m.
Well,
very early in the morning.
That's a confirmation, though. That's the White House confirming the New York Post report that the Biden administration has been secretly flying underage migrants to Florida and New York in the middle of the night. I happen to think 2 and 4 a.m., although I often get up at 4 a.m., Fox and Friends, in the middle of the night. And for all that we know, it might not just be limited to those states. Buses there are waiting to take them to prearranged drop-off locations. And there's no end in sight to this self-created border crisis, as reports are coming in that the, quote, mother of all caravans, self-named, is heading towards Biden's open border. Joining me now is nationally syndicated radio host Dana Loesch, along with the New York Post columnist who broke this story, Miranda Devine. Ladies, thank you both for being with me tonight. Miranda, fill me in on a few of these details. So planes in the middle of the night, landing in Westchester and other places, dropping people off, I assume, after being picked up at the southern border of the United States.
That's right. We've just followed that route from Texas, from the southern border, to White Plains, and they come via Jacksonville, Florida, where they drop off some of their migrants, and then they arrive in the dead of night, as you said, and the curfew at that White Plains airport is midnight, and these planes are flying in way after curfew. And then there are charter buses and a police escort waiting for them. And we just observed 2 flights from Westchester and one into Westchester and one that left Jacksonville that came to White Plains last week. And of those, we saw about 100 migrants come off each plane. And we followed a couple of buses that went, one to Long Island to drop some of these migrants off at about 1 a.m. at a sort of a group home, a former orphanage. Now they have a contract there, Mercy First, with the federal government to house migrant youth. There were several adults that, as far as I could see and my photographer could see, that came off these planes as well. The government is telling us they're all children, but it doesn't look like that to us. But regardless, it's all been done secretly. And if the federal government was not trying to hide what they were doing, they would show us who was on the plane and they would tell us where they were taking them. And they wouldn't be doing these flights in the dead of night.
It seems indisputable that they're doing this secretly. Why else break curfew? Why else do it all through the night? And Dana, we're not talking about necessarily large numbers of people, but what seems to be escaping our policymakers or the people who refuse to make policy is the idea of incentive. If it is that you can cross the border, and if you then get shipped wherever you want to go, why would you be surprised then that a caravan of 95,000 people is set to launch in Mexico in the next couple of days? They're calling it, by the way, the Madre Caravana, the mother of all caravans.
I think you're exactly right, Will, and it is an incentive. I mean, when people see that there's no law and order that's being enforced, not just at the border but in the interior, and I thought Miranda's story was fantastic. My question as a parent was, well, where are the parents of these children, these minors that are being transported up to New York and then put on buses thereafter? Do we even know where they're going? Have any local officials been made aware? I mean, that's a very serious issue. But Will, further to your point, with the border, you're going to have more children that are going to be coming up towards the border that are going to be taken by coyotes and taken across the border or trafficked. I mean, that's the other thing. We don't even know about the safety or well-being of these kids. And this is supposed to be in the name of some kind of fake compassion from this administration about the plight of these people that are trying to seek entry into the United States. I mean, if it's about compassion, then there would be some sort of regular order that people could follow and we could verify to see who they were and make sure that, yes, they are a family unit and these children are their children, and maybe you could stay and apply for asylum and follow the process like every other person will that's ever had to immigrate to this country. And it's a complete breakdown. So of course it's an incentive, and we're going to have this problem again and again and again, and this administration won't fix it.
So what are those details, Miranda? Like Dana just asked, where are they going? Why are they alone? Can you, I guess, as a migrant, simply say, I would like to be dropped off in New York, and you have a private chartered flight, do so? Is it you say my parents are in New York and therefore you're put on a plane? Why? I mean, the details of how this comes together logistically are mystifying.
Yes, and if you just have to look at the publicly available flight logs to see that this is happening all over the country. There are several hubs around the country, and these planes, because you're not going to leave, upwards of 1.5 million illegal migrants down by the border, because it would be a catastrophe. So they have to disperse them quietly around the country into communities that don't know what's going on. And we've seen we watched one bus take or two buses actually from one flight, take a bunch of these migrants on Wednesday night and drop them off at a rest area off the New Jersey Turnpike. Now, if they were children, this was really failure of the duty of care of HHS, because they didn't check the identification of any of the people that came up in cars to pick these people up. How do we know who they are?
Oh, wow.
And we know Tom Homan, who was border security under Donald Trump, said that they spent an inordinate amount of time vetting the people that would come and pick up unaccompanied minors, but that's been shortchanged with this government, and they're not talking.
Really quickly, Dana, I just want to give you the quick last word. There's no doubt this changes the fabric of America. Is it intended to do so?
I don't, in terms of, we need people to come in legally, not illegally. Your first act into the country shouldn't be breaking a law. I mean, it is the melting pot. I know that's not the PC term to use anymore, but we're a country that's founded around the principles of freedom, not racial identity. But we're also a republic founded on law and order.